So, nachdem wir unsere innenpolitische Lage besprochen haben, mit der Innenministerin und der Ministerin für Rechtsangelegenheiten, sprechen wir jetzt mit dem Militär und ich bin sicher, sie wollen Panzer. Willkommen, Joseph. I brought General Kruger with me due to the escalations on our borders. General Kruger stepped forward and saluted. He had a strong jaw with sharp cheekbones. His tall stature, uniform and medals, combined with his deep and intense stare, made him look threatening. He was in his 70s. Ach du Schreck. Yet he had a bulky body that was a result of his commando training. Not only was he the second most decorated officer in Sordland, he was also the longest serving. Ja, vielleicht solltest du mal in Rente gehen, Kollege. Wir werden nicht zurücksalutieren. Wir werden ihm vielleicht noch nicht mal die... sollten wir ihm die Hand geben? Ja, wahrscheinlich sollten wir das tun. His handshake was firm, strong and confident. Joseph tapped his foot impatiently. He seemed uneasy with the presence of another high-ranking officer in the room. Ja, die beiden sind sich auch nicht so ganz eins. Gentlemen, thanks for coming to this significant gathering. Let's begin. Joseph and Vulcan took their seats at the table while the rest of the officers stood by the door. Mr. President, the situation at the western and northern borders towards Rumburg is very tense. We are observing deployments of divisions closer to our border. Rumburg has been acting increasingly expansionist in the past decades and also interfered in Agnolia, but now they have turned their sights on us. Ich meine, wir haben ja schon mal gegen sie gewonnen, ne, im 15-Tage-Krieg. Aber offenbar haben sie irgendwelche experimentellen Waffen, zumindest wird das angenommen. Was ist die Strategie? Patrolling close to the borders with our border force and keeping army reserve divisions near. It seems like they want to increase the pressure both externally and internally. Ja, wenn sie die Radikalen bewaffnen, dann ist das wohl so. If I may... Go on. The picture is becoming clearer. The latest information from the interior about the weapons caches, and now there is an active military build-up close to our borders. The entire situation was analyzed by our general staff, and our prediction is a future territorial incursion by Rumburg. We will give them hell. Ich vertraue dem Generalstab. Oder die Bedrohung ist überzogen. Vertrauen wir dem Generalstab? Eigentlich nicht. Aber vielleicht sagen wir das so, um sie zu beschwichtigen. Und ich meine, militärisch, keine Ahnung, kann ja sein, dass sie militärisch gut sind. Sagen wir mal, wir vertrauen ihnen. We will not let you down, Mr. President. The General Staff is composed of the smartest military individuals. I require an increase in the military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then we can stand strong against our enemies. The enlarged armed forces will hold them at bay. Vulcan is right. We do need an increase in the military budget. Although we don't see eye to eye on exactly how to spend the budget, that much we agree on. I have my concerns about Rumburg too, the collusion. We need strong allies to withstand such a superior power. They are our nemesis. That is an understatement. Times are changing and war is coming, Mr. President. Whether we like it or not, we must be prepared. During the elections, you said nothing about focusing on our military. I ask you to reconsider and to increase the military budget. The future and safety of Sordland is in your hands. Ja, das ist natürlich klar, dass er das verlangt. Das ist keine Überraschung. Jetzt könnte man argumentieren, wenn wir das militärische Budget erhöhen und die mehr Rekruten einstellen können, dann verringert das natürlich die Arbeitslosigkeit und die Leute haben wieder was Geld, um auszugeben und so weiter. Das fördert die Wirtschaft. Aber ich glaube, das ist wohl kaum der Ansatz, den wir gehen wollen, zumal wir wissen, dass das Militär erzkonservativ ist. Da müsste man erstmal den ganzen Laden reformieren, bevor man da das in Kauf nehmen könnte, die noch weiter zu stärken. Ich halte mich an mein Wort. Oder ist es wichtiger, die Verteidigung zu stärken? Oder abwarten? Wir werden schon sehen, was passiert. Ja, ich glaube, wir werden mal abwarten. Ich denke, wir würden versuchen, eine diplomatische Lösung zu finden. A smile brought a glimmer of hope on Joseph's face. Ja, stellt sich, glaube ich, was anderes vor. Our forces would crumble under a decrease, and Rumburg would be much more compelled to exploit our weakness. Our country hasn't fallen to any invading force for 200 years. You cannot let it happen, Mr. President. We should find regional allies like Valksland and Lesbia to deter Rumburg. There are several options on the table. Tja, oder wir verbünden uns halt mit einer Blockmacht. Sordland must stand on its own 2 feet and be able to defend itself. Nein, wir müssen uns die diplomatischen Optionen mal anschauen. They could be considered, but why pander with others when we can solve these issues ourselves? We have no true friends outside these borders. Everyone fell silent when a soldier entered the room and let Joseph Lancier know that a call had come through from the ministry. Excuse me, Mr. President. Joseph left the room to answer. A few minutes later he entered the room again. His expression had changed. Mr. President, there has been Rumburgian military activity close to the Nabel border. I just spoke with the local commander. Welcome, we should go to the ministry and get further updates from our branches. Understood. Raising military readiness is the first call of action. If there is truly an extraordinary attempt, we will relay it to you immediately and wait for further orders. Tja, wie geht man jetzt damit um, ne? Also ich meine, das ist halt so ein jetzt quasi spieltheoretische Frage. Reagiert man jetzt darauf? Mobilisiert man an der Grenze? Dann werden sie auch wieder reagieren und noch mehr Kräfte dahin ziehen und dann schaukelt sich das so hoch, bis es dann entweder explodiert oder alle wieder nach Hause gehen. Go and show them the might of the Swordische Armed Forces. Nein. Remain calm, make sure not to escalate. Nobody wants a war. We will exercise utmost caution, Mr. President. Hail Sordland. Oh Gott. They saluted and left the room. Ja, raus mit euch. Rumburg was already testing us, and the reports from the interior indicate interference inside our borders. Communist, nationalist, bluish rebels, Rumburg expansionism. What was next? Sordland had always been a key piece in the chessboard of the global rivalry between Arcasia and United Contana. But in the recent years there was no such aggression from Rumburg, not at these levels, at least. All it takes is one tiny spark to start the flames of war. The phone rang. Rumburg has decided to close their consulate in Lake Haven. Ja, das gehört dann wohl dazu. Also, hier können wir gerade mal sehen, wir haben es mit einer nationalen Revolte zu tun, oder staatsweiten Revolte. gewaltsame Proteste. Diplomatischer Druck. United Contana Embassy helped protesters. Around midnight, Red youth protesters clashed with young Zords at the V-Zord city center, resulting in many injuries. The counter-protesters were cornered in front of the United Contana Embassy after they were pushed back by the police. The embassy opened its doors and Red youth members escaped inside. The police are still waiting outside the building for the return of Red Youth Members. Interessant. Ja, die Verstrickungen gehen weiter, die diplomatischen. Einfach so die Botschaft zu schließen führt zu globalen Spannung. Guse, ich glaube, ihre Agenda ist uns bekannt, ne? Bin mal gespannt. Arcasia develops the first ICBM. Intelligence reports that Arcasia has successfully completed the Missile 4, an intercontinental ballistic missile, which has the estimated capability to accurately destroy targets at thousands of kilometers range. Arcasian missile capabilities have significantly increased, posing a threat to territories that are further away from Western Mercopa. Also auch international gehen die Spannungen weiter, ja. Interkontinentalwaffen könnten jetzt eine Gefahr wiederum als Gefahr wahrgenommen werden vom United Contana. Schauen wir uns noch die Zeitung an und dann machen wir, glaube ich, Schluss für heute. The rumors of an infrastructure project. Anonymous sources have reported to Sordland today that several government officials have invited construction companies to meetings regarding a new major infrastructure project. If true, this is great news, as infrastructure in Sordland is lacking heavily needed investment. We hope that very qualified and experienced companies like Underhaul Constructions win the bid. Okay. Irgend so eine Firma. The Lake Haven Times berichtet über Gang Violence. Claims young girl's life. A 15-year-old girl was shot to death in Narbel as she walked her dog a few blocks away from her apartment. The police said the shooting, which occurred in an area affiliated with the gang Coranelli, was a reckless act of violence and the victim was not the target. The 15-year-old was shot about 4:45 p.m. right before she was returning home. A man who witnessed the event told police the shooters yelled gang slogans at him on the streets before he heard someone fire at least 10 shots, sources said. He later saw that the victim had been hit and called the authorities. Our sources report that the local police forces of the region is understaffed and overworked. Ja. Dann können sie ja die Raketen über auf andere schießen. Genau. Tassner schreibt, bin immer noch beeindruckt vom schieren Ausmaß am Writing. Die ausführlichen tausenden Dialoge, Zeitungsartikel, Kodextexte. Ja, ich finde es unglaublich gut. Das ist richtig, richtig viel. Also, The Radical Voice of the Unheard berichtet, 1927 Never Again. I was there when General Luderin and Rickard clashed in the plains outside of Hosord, when the armies of Zordish people killed each other. I was there when Colonel Zol won the war after bombarding cities with Zordish civilians inside them. We saw this great nation fall into bloodshed and chaos. We thought that we learned our lessons and formed a new republic, but one man's idea became the idea of the state, and we allowed it to be forced upon us. We were a generation who lived with Tarkin Sol for most of their lives. However, this generation is different. Our kids have not experienced civil war or martial law. This generation is born in a changing time. We cannot allow the same conditions to return. We cannot forget when General Lutheran declared martial law in 1927, when his tanks rolled and murders took place. Those tanks cannot roll again. Bombs cannot fall again. Freedoms cannot be suspended again. 1927, never again. The real truth behind the economic crisis, darüber wissen Sie auch Bescheid. We have all seen this scenario play before. Large corporate businesses time and time again receive money from the government under the disguise of helping the economy. But what about the people? Ich meine, jetzt haben wir uns extra für das Projekt entschieden, dass das nicht unmittelbar so offensichtlich der Wirtschaft zugutekommt. Naja. Many in the neglected regions still do not have electricity or fresh water in their homes, and they are the lucky ones. There is a growing housing crisis and people are on the streets begging for food. In the year of 1954. It is high time that money is invested in us, the people of Sordland, instead of armchair millionaires in their luxurious villas. Ja, wenn es dann eine Entscheidung geben würde, irgendwie in Wohnungsbau zu investieren, wären wir sofort dabei, glaube ich. So, Underhall Construction, once again number 1. Ja, jetzt machen die quasi Werbung für diese Firma, die scheinbar mit unter den möglichen Firmen ist, um diese Autobahn zu bauen. Ja, 13% Wachstum. Großartig. Geopolitico schreibt, Rumber closes the consulate in Sordland, one of the few East American nations to have diplomatic ties with the Northern Kingdom. This comes right after the deployment of Rumburgian troops near the northern borders of Sordland. Rumburgian officials cite political unrest and uncertainty as the main reason for the closure, while raising concerns over security in the country. Ja, seht ihr, und das ist sozusagen wieder der Bezug, den ich eben gemacht habe. Deswegen unterstützen sie die Radikalen mit Waffen, um sozusagen uns zu destabilisieren und dann selbst argumentieren zu können, dass sie ja die Ordnung wiederherstellen wollen. In Lakehaven, a diplomatic source said the Rumburgian flag has been lowered overnight and that the diplomatic staff were expected to leave Sordland on Friday or Saturday. Many Lakehaveners were shocked as the 120-year-old Rumburg consulate closed. Dozens of citizens with Rumburgian relatives went out to protest against this action in the afternoon. It was not clear if the consulate closure was temporary or permanent, signaling a break in diplomatic ties which date from 1923. Our editors see this situation as a further deterioration of relations between Sordland and Rumburg. This can be easily regarded as one-sided provocation from the north. So sieht's aus. Das Entwicklerstudio sitzt in Berlin, aber das setzt sich aus sehr vielen verschiedenen, also Menschen mit verschiedenen Hintergründen zusammen. Ich glaube, da sind womöglich auch welche dabei, die Hintergründe auf dem Balkan haben. Ich weiß es nicht, will es nicht beschwören, aber es ist auf jeden Fall sehr, sehr vielfältig. So, was wäre hier? Wäre das Diner. Ich weiß nicht, ob wir das jetzt noch machen wollen. Ich glaube, es ist Mitternacht und ich denke, wir sollten für heute so langsam Schluss machen. Ich beende auf jeden Fall schon mal die Aufnahme und bin sehr, sehr gespannt, wie es hier weitergeht. Sehr viel Spannung liegt in der Luft, Explosionspotenzial haben wir hier an allen Ecken und Enden. Ich würde gerne sehr, sehr viele Dinge tun. Natürlich kann man nicht alles auf einmal machen. Bin sehr gespannt, wo das Spiel uns weiter hinführt. Macht's gut, bis zum nächsten Mal.